Imagine you're offered a choice right now. Walk away with a guaranteed $3 million in cash, or take a single copper penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days. The math favors the penny, growing to $10.7 million by day 31. But look closer at the first 20 days. The curve is totally flat, reaching just $5,000. This is the pre-momentum phase, a danger zone where maximum effort yields invisible rewards. We usually expect linear progress. If we put in 2 weeks of intense workouts, we want to see 2 weeks of physical change. When the scale doesn't budge or the audience doesn't grow, we assume the effort has failed. Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect provides the mathematical reality needed to bridge this gap. It provides a framework for understanding how early effort accumulates long before it shows up in the results. Most habits end here because the math of the pre-momentum phase outlasts the initial excitement. Surviving this flatline requires a focus on the repetition. The massive spike at the end of the 31-day curve often distracts us from the microscopic starting line, the mundane, unconscious daily choices that dictate the trajectory. We spend much of our day sleepwalking through these choices, buying a routine coffee, scrolling a social feed, without making a conscious decision. Compounding is neutral. It does not care about your intentions. A minor bad daily habit multiplies into a massive deficit just as effectively as a good habit builds a fortune. Because a small loss or a wasted hour is painless today, it slips by unnoticed. You cannot change a life trajectory that you aren't actively observing. To survive the danger zone, Hardy prescribes the relentless, non-judgmental tracking of a single behavior. For 1 full week, you write down every single action related to your goal. If you want to save money, you log every penny spent. If it's time management, you log every minute worked. You don't try to change the behavior yet. You just record it. This practice is deeply tedious. It is annoying to pause your life to write down a purchase, and it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about your own daily discipline. The act of recording forces conscious awareness. It takes a behavior you execute on autopilot and turns it into a deliberate, active decision. Once you have a baseline, you use a weekly rhythm register. You map these tracked actions onto a grid to build an unbroken physical chain of checkmarks. Larry Bird treated his 500 daily free throws as a tracked, non-negotiable rhythm. This repetition happened every morning, regardless of how he felt or whether he was inspired. Tracking serves as artificial momentum. On the days when the physical results have not materialized, the checkmarks on the page provide a reason to keep the repetition alive. But an ideal tracking routine is often the first thing to break when a professional schedule becomes chaotic. To defend your consistency on these days, you apply the floors and ceilings framework. The ceiling is your best-case scenario. It's the grueling 1-hour workout or writing 2,000 words. The floor is the tiny, bare minimum version of that same habit. It is doing 10 push-ups before your shower or writing a single paragraph. Accepting the floor requires checking your ego. It means accepting a D- effort that feels inadequate and unrewarding in the short term. Executing the floor protects your momentum, what Hardy calls Big Mo, from a devastating reset. It keeps the chain intact when you lack the time for the ceiling. Maintaining an unbroken chain of tiny efforts is superior to sporadic bursts of perfect effort. Momentum is significantly harder to build than it is to maintain. External forces also quietly push against your momentum. Hardy identifies 3: your inputs, your associations, and your environment. Your inputs are the media you regularly consume. Your associations are the reference group of people you spend the most time with. Auditing your associations involves a difficult trade-off. It requires setting boundaries and distancing yourself from cynical or stagnant peers who influence your default choices. You can also reduce friction by auditing your physical space, throwing out junk food or deleting specific apps, so the smart choice becomes the path of least resistance. Relying on pure willpower to fight a bad environment is a losing strategy. Compounding requires engineering a life where the right choice is actually the easiest choice to make. Anyone building habits today will inevitably compare this system to James Clear's Atomic Habits. Clear focuses on micro-design, manipulating cues and cravings to make an isolated action automatic. Hardy focuses on macro accountability, He uses extreme ownership and rhythm registers to help you survive long timelines and stagnant curves. These frameworks function together. The compound effect functions as a neutral, mathematical multiplier of time. Success depends on aggressively protecting the repetition until the momentum takes over.